the team's mission, the team's objective, and the team's action plan. And most importantly, what I want you to take away from this tonight is, what is the mission? You got to know the mission. If you don't know the mission of the organization that you're part of, you're kind of missing it. Number two, I want you to know what is the objective of what we're trying to do here. And then number three, what is the team's action plan for you to succeed? And we lay all that out in great detail. And so let me I took a little time just to really get this down for you. So we're going to zip through this because I've had an amazing journey in the last 2 months, and I've been interviewing a lot of other agents, and I've learned a lot of stuff about what we're doing that most of you have no idea. So I want to kind of highlight it tonight. So what we're going to do, we're going to review our mission, the team's objective, and then the team's action plan. And it's really it's not very granular, although I'm going to go through some numbers that I think will kind of surprise you. So since May, I've talked to 45 agents because we're running this campaign about, selling IULs and FIAs versus FEX and mortgage protection. And what they all have in common, they're all wonderful people. They all have their own journey, their own path. Some of them have been in the business for 30 years, some of them are brand new. But in general, all the agents I talk to, they like the people they work with. They like their IMO. Now, I've also learned IMOs are a dime a dozen. I mean, one time Zach Trudowski said to me, your all's business is bigger than most IUL or IMOs. And I was like, there's no way. And he said, it's true. And I never had a perspective, but I can't believe, just about every person I talk to is part of a different IMO. And they range from one guy started it to a couple people started it. I even had an owner of another IMO call me and answer my ad. And in general, everybody, they love their carriers. The insurance companies are great. And they all have access to cheap, low intent leads. Like they can go somewhere and get some really inexpensive leads. So why are they still looking? That's the question. And what I found is that virtually all of them want to focus on IULs and FIAs all the time, and they kind of want to break free of final expense and term. If you're on this call and you're selling final expense and term, that is not a criticism, but this is what I'm hearing from people that answered the ad. Number two, they want continuous education on IULs and FIAs. Their IMO may talk about an IUL every once in a while, but not very often. They want to get in front of more clients. They are looking for higher income and higher net worth clients. And they want to make a bigger impact by protecting more families. That's what essentially we do. We protect families. And then the very last one, which is just a reality that, none of us can deny, we all want to make more money. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? As long as we have a good mission behind it. So what is our mission? What is the team's mission? What is the team's objective? Okay. So our mission is we want to provide a platform that helps agents achieve greater success, whether through personal sales or building an agency so they can reach financial freedom. That's our mission. What we've been working on for months now is developing this platform. And our platform is we have a system and we have a pattern. Okay. Now it's very simple. In the system, we strategize. How do you get where you want to be? That's a great question to ask somebody. Hey, if you're on Francis's team, hey, how do I get to where I want to be? Where do you want to be? This is where I want to be. We can work backwards and figure it out. Then the second part after you strategize is you got to take action. And in our business, action is buying leads, calling the leads, booking Zoom meetings, and doing Zoom meetings. Okay. That's really the action. And then, of course, the underlying factor that kind of cuts the wheat from the chaff is the belief system. What's holding you back? You remember though, we were on that Tony Robbins call and he goes, what's holding you back? And we all listed it. He goes, that's a bunch of BS. And we all laughed, but he was talking about belief system. So in some cases, you can have a great strategy, you can take action, but your belief system is really bad. and you've got to change that. And we can't change that for you. That comes through reading books. I sent a bunch of people Think and Grow Rich. That's part of that. I didn't send it to you because you got a bad mindset. I sent it to you because it really changed my life in a big way. And then our pattern on how to get you there is you got to find high intent lead sources and you got to spend some money for those, right? Because a 50-cent lead is a 50-cent lead, but high intent leads are going to cost you more, but people actually pick up the phone. We book people or they book on our calendars, and then we book some of those on our calendars. You do discovery calls, you book Zoom appointments, and on those Zoom appointments, people show up and we do three things. We educate by showing them a PowerPoint. We illustrate an IUL. We close them. And I thought Dan Hatcher did a great job a couple weeks ago. And then we put in an application. So this is our system and this is our pattern and this works, right? Now, if you want to do call to close on final expense, that's great, but that is not our system, right? So in other words, last month, Francis was number one in the group and he did a little over 25,000. Okay. The next closest did 15,000. The next one did 10. And then the next one did about 9,800. So why is Francis at 25,000 and the next closest is at 15? It's because he's doing the system and he's doing the pattern, primarily the pattern. Okay. I say all that to identify these objectives of the team. So I've got this checked off, building the platform to enable agents to succeed. We now have the platform in place. Now, our objective of the team is we want to build the largest IUL and FIA agency in FFL. We want to grow from 1.3 million per month as a team to 2 million a month in 2025, then to a million a week in 2026. Those are big goals, and we got to be able to take all of you that are watching this and get you into this pattern and help you succeed in doing that. And that's easier said than done. I mean, I'm not saying we got it down, but we're making great strides to work towards that. And we want to grow from 100 writing agents to 300 writing agents. Quick review, because some of you guys don't really know a lot about our IMO. So our IMO has 16,000 agents last year that wrote a policy. 1,000 agents had volume between 200,000 to 1.4 million. Most IMOs don't have 1,000 people that go to their annual conference, and we had 1,000 people cross the stage for achievements of sales between 200 to 1.4 million. There's 635 agency owners in FFL, and there's 34 of those agencies that are Hall of Fame, 10 million or more. And you're all part of an agency that is Hall of Fame. Kind of, it's rarefied air. We're not happy where we are, but sometimes you just got to sit back and say it's pretty cool. We have the number one producer in all of FFL in IULs. That's Francis. He is a beast, and he can change a transmission. It's amazing what he can do. Right? We had, as an organization, and I say us and Francis, our organization had 4 out of the top 5 IUL producers in FFL. This year we've had 220 agents write a policy in 2025. So that's kind of the overview of our IMO. In terms of the agency, I mean, here at the office, I took all of Francis's hardware and put it on one big shelf and took a picture of it. But every time you do over 200,000, you're going to get an award. And so all this hardware is over the years of just being very consistent, writing between 200 to 300,000. And then Francis had to go ahead and do 1 million. And that's his award for doing 1 million. And there's our award for being Hall of Fame. So anyways, it's just fun to do that stuff, right? I never thought I would have that on a shelf. We, as an organization, the reason that we can do this is we have great mentorship. This is Zach, and he'll be speaking in 2 weeks. Zach's got a tremendous organization. It doesn't matter whether Zach's group does final expense through telesales or where they're doing IULs. They do a little bit of both, but he has a really great perspective. And this is him saying, okay, how do you strategize with an agent? Uh, so first they got to want to strategize. First they got to reach out and they got to want to set up a time and go over this. And they have to tell you what they want to make. And then you have to reverse engineer how many policies that they're going to have to write and how many leads they're going to need to achieve that level of success. And he was writing it out. I said, this is a great picture. You look like a young Einstein working on that. Anyways, kind of to review why we love what we do. We have the IUL market is such a great market. And it wasn't like I sat down one day and said, maybe we should do IULs. I mean, we had a group start doing it in Houston, and then Francis started doing it, and I saw the numbers he was posting, so I started doing it. So, I'm just a guy with his eyes wide open, and if there's a better way, I'm going to take a look at it, and if it makes sense, I'm going to do it. So, final expense has 30% chargeback rate. Last month, we had a 97.68 persistency rate. So the point is these are more profitable and you don't have to worry about going on vacation, coming back, and then you got to charge back, right? We just don't get that. And I think part of the reason is we don't close people. And we're working with people. I mean, we tell them the process, but we don't hard close them. Number one. Number two is these are people with a little more money than final expense. Those are usually people on fixed income. And those draft on the first or the third, where IULs draft all month long. I mean, week 1, 2, 3, and 4 are always, they get stronger as the month goes on because you put your policies in, they get approved the second or the third week, and they draft. You don't have to worry about, can you draft it on the first of next month? You virtually never have that. The FEX annual premium is usually between $600 to $800, and the IUL is between $3,000 to $7,000. I actually put this in a chat GPT, and that's what it gave me. It sourced it, but I don't have the source. And then FEX policies, there's about 2.5 to 3 million annually, whereas with IULs, the number of policies written is between 500 to 700,000 annually. IULs make up fewer total policies, but it has a larger share of the total premium in dollars, 23%. So I like the market. And then, of course, this chart just shows that National Life Group's number 1, Transamerica's number 2, Mutual Omaha's number 3, and F&G is number 4. When you look at Americo, this was their first year with an IUL. And because of companies like primarily FFL, they were number 5. They cracked the top 5, which is amazing. So let's go over understanding the numbers and a call to action. Okay. What I'm sharing with you is when I saw Francis starting to post these numbers in IUL, it was in 2022. And so in 2023, I started doing IULs, and this just gives you a perspective. So my first year, which was 2023, I wrote 94 policies. Not all of them got approved. I think 73 or 74 got approved. My previous year's numbers were like 208,000. I did 296,801. Now, I invested 6,200 a month in leads, and my average issue paid that year, 2023, was 24,734. The total I spent on leads, I spent 74,000 to make 296,000. Actually, because we have an agency, we made more than that. So those are 12-month numbers. Now, in 2024, I really only wrote for 8 months, wrote 57 policies for 221. I invested $6,360 a month. My average IP was 27,702. And so I spent 50,000 to sell and issue 221,000. Just trying to be transparent. If this number each month is a 0 for you, then that we got to change the strategy, because you just can't do it when your marketing budget, as Francis talks about, is 0. That's your marketing. That's like opening up an Ace Hardware. costs about 200,000 for inventory. It's probably a lot more now, but it's like saying I'm not gonna put any inventory in until I sell something. It's just very difficult to do, right? I want to show you this. This is Juan's team. Dan Hatcher, we had him on last month. He did 70,615. Mo barely speaks English, 67,000. Bila, who is from Kenya, and she doesn't spend a penny in advertising. What she basically does, she networks, 57,000. Prince, I don't even know, 52,000. Antrel, 47,000. Pedro, 39,000. I'll tell you what all these guys have in common. They are doing a discovery call. They are scheduling a meeting, a Zoom meeting, and they are doing that system exactly how we talked about. Okay. That's what we really are emphasizing is that's the system. Here it's working. Okay. Now they spend, 6,000 a month in leads. Just want to point that out. So these are super achievers for sure. So here's the call to action. Number one, if you invest $1,000 a week in leads, you will have so many people to sell IULs with. It'll surprise you, really surprise you. And you'll go, my God. Now, coming up with that money is a whole different deal. You got to figure that out. Remember that, MJ? We had a Citibank credit card and it had a $6,000 credit limit. I was so nervous to swipe that credit card and put leads on them because I didn't know if I could sell a policy. And it was unnerving. I mean, we all go through that. But if you have a strategy and you know what your action plan is, then all it is your mindset. Number two, you got to go to work. All right, calling leads. The best time to call them is 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's prime time. The afternoons are when all the telemarketers are out dialing. And then after people get off work is the second best time. Number three is get on our live dialing Zooms. We post them in the general section on Slack. It's really very motivational, especially for the new people, because that's where you kind of learn the process. You actually hear people talking to clients. And I'm not going to tell you that it runs from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. You just got to kind of jump on. And, the guys that are the warriors, Felipe, Danny, Preston, Brian Cagney, and Francis. At any given time, those 5 guys are on those calls, and it's very motivating. The plan is first month, 10 grand, second month, 20 grand, third month, 30 grand. I mean, first time you make 10 grand, you just hold some back, you buy leads, right? You reinvest in leads. By the time you're issuing 30,000, you're investing 6,000 a month religiously in leads, and leads are pouring in and people are booking on your calendar. You're gaining confidence because you're seeing it happen. So if you're not getting results, either you don't have enough, and this is Zach, either you don't have enough leads, you're not calling the leads, or your presentation sucks. One of those threes. Okay. And I know that third one's kind of crude, but the fact is we can correct that, right? We can correct if you're over talking, you're not asking enough questions, your tone isn't good. You got to have kind of an authoritative tone. If your tone isn't any good, so this is really easy to diagnose. If you have enough leads and you're calling those leads and you're not getting any results, then it's either what you're saying on the dials or your presentations are just bad. And if people aren't showing up, then I love the Dan Hatcher thing. And he goes into, hey, look, MJ, I want to tell you that we set this appointment, but some people are so kind like yourself, they just can't say no. And now I have really thick skin. So if you're one of those people that are just so kind, you can't say no, then I want to let you off the hook and just say, then don't worry about the meeting. And they'll say, no, Neal, I'll be there for sure. Don't worry about that. Anyway, so we can diagnose why you're not succeeding. Really, the homework assignment, especially if you're suffering from that mindset, the belief system, start increasing your financial IQ. And what I mean by that, we have let me make sure that you're seeing this. Yeah, we have since we built the boot camp, we really don't share this anymore, but we have a financial IQ. And I'll tell you how we built this. As I went through in my own education, I just listened to videos all the time. When I came by something that really made sense to me that would help my ability to communicate the benefits of IULs. And by the way, you can't be in the IUL business without knowing what a 401k is and what the negatives of a 401k are, right? So that's what this file's for. There's another file here, Robert Kiyosaki, just some of the best of his best. These aren't really long videos. In some cases, these are like 30 seconds. He just said something that really resonated with me. So, anyways, in the chat. So number one is increase your financial IQ. Okay. Number two is dive into the product knowledge. Here again, we've got a file that we're going to put the link in the chat. And again, these are foundational concepts that will help build your belief in why it's important for people to know about IULs. And there's not a ton of them here, but the ones when I heard something like Tom Hegna talking about, the success of your retirement program, it just kind of hit a chord with me. So, anyways, make sure that you bookmark that. So dive into the product knowledge, advance your financial IQ. There's a couple books. I had sent Dan Chernati a note and I asked him why didn't he promote the Laser Fund book by Doug Andrews? And he said, it's a great book, Neal, but it's kind of an advanced book. He said, what I promote to my team is I tell them to read Money, Wealth, Life Insurance by Jake Thompson. And then he said to read The Power of Zero. And this one's a really easy read. It's not too deep, but it's just conceptual about IULs. And he said, I have everybody that starts in my business read these two books. So we just put links to Amazon for you guys to click through. And then start writing illustrations on your dog, your cat, your kids, your parents, your parakeet, everybody. Because the more you mess with it, the more you understand that there's only a couple of things that you got to deal with when you're doing an illustration. So again, we put together early in the days, I mean, we went through so many different scenarios. What if a guy wants to chunk in 30,000? I mean, MJ, you and I were having this conversation. How do you illustrate for that? How do you do it? What if someone's got 250,000, they just want to chunk in? How do you do that? Can you put it all in at once? And you play with it and you kind of see how it all works. So those are just a whole file. They're not really long, but they're really good teaching. And Francis does a couple of these. I do a couple of them. So those are, again, tools to help you break out. Because here's the thing. In the chat, put a 1 in the chat if you've never submitted a policy on this team. Like, since you join us, put a 1 if you've never, and we're not going to be mad at anybody. We want that number every week to go down lower and lower and lower. And so this will give us an idea of who we need to really dig in and help. Perfect. Thank you for doing that, you guys. Knowing how to do illustrations really it boosts your confidence. Okay. The last thing I want to put on here is I want you to really dream big in this business because, I want you to chase financial freedom with everything you have. I mean, look, I know everybody's at a different point in their life, but when we got started in this business, our backs were up against the wall. We didn't really have a choice. We had to do this. And so there was never a question. Every waking minute, I was watching a video, I was working on illustrations, I was working on tone, memorizing my discovery calls, memorizing my PowerPoint, because we had to do this. We didn't have a choice. Now, really what it's about is that platform to help you guys get your financial freedom. I mean, and again, what is financial freedom? It means something different to everybody, but it's literally the way I learned it. It's being able, it's whether you get out of bed or not, you have money coming in. Now you make the choice to go to work every day because you love what you do. You never retire because you only retire from stuff that you don't like. I worked on that factory for 30 years. I can't wait. I retire next year. You retire to get away from something. Here, we love this, right? So now it's about helping you guys get to where you want to be. So chase your financial freedom with everything you have. And then the other thing, massive results, it takes massive action. If you want massive results, you got to take massive action. You can't poke it with a stick. You got to go for it, right? That is what I want to share with you guys tonight, kind of who we are, where we're going, but most importantly, what is the team's mission? What's the objective of what we're doing here? And then most importantly, if you haven't gotten with Francis to develop an action plan, what happens, unfortunately, is in between the time we originally talked to you guys and then you go into contracting, there's a million things going on. It seems like a month and we don't talk. So if we haven't strategized together, then get on our calendars and let's go ahead and do that because it does make a difference in just having an action plan.